As diplomats talked peace, the skies over Ukraine erupted in fire. Russia launched its biggest overnight aerial assault of the year. Striking Ukraine just hours after Kyiv, Moscow, and Washington held their first known trilateral talks since the war began. Missiles and drones targeted the Ukrainian capital overnight, forcing air defenses into action. Journalists in Kyiv reported hearing explosions as the city came under attack. Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko said at least one person was killed and 4 others wounded. Falling debris sparked fires, damaged buildings, and knocked out heat for nearly 6,000 apartment blocks, while parts of the city lost water, as temperatures plunged to minus 17 degrees Celsius. Ukraine's second-largest city, Kharkiv, was also hit. Strikes damaged a maternity hospital and a dormitory housing displaced people, wounding at least 19 civilians, including a child. President Zelensky said Russia fired more than 370 drones and 21 missiles overnight, also striking Sumy and Chernihiv. He said the attacks deliberately targeted Ukraine's energy infrastructure, critical during the harsh winter. High above Kyiv, in a dark, frozen tower block, survival has become a daily climb. Long blackouts, triggered by Russia's repeated strikes on power plants and transmission lines, now dominate daily life. As temperatures plunge to minus 17 Celsius, frost forms inside the windows, creeping across the glass each morning. Power banks ration electricity for an electric blanket, while USB cables snake across the floor to overloaded chargers. By day, families shift to rooms to catch the winter sun, each space repurposed around blackout schedules. At night, heavy clothing stays on as central heating shuts down and the apartment cools rapidly. Kyiv, home to around 3 million people, is dominated by Soviet-era high-rises, now without power most of the day. In this 4th winter of war, electricity has become a rationed lifeline. Residents plan everything around limited power windows, cooking, showering, charging phones, even doing laundry. Food is chosen for shelf life, water filtered and stored, while camping gas burners heat soup and tea during outages. Sleep is broken by air raid sirens and the race to use electricity when it briefly returns. Outside, diesel generators rumble along commercial streets, while shops and bars glow by candlelight. Apps alert residents to shrinking electricity windows, often just a few hours to reset an entire household. Life grows harder higher up. In wealthier neighborhoods, residents pool money for generators to keep elevators running. Most buildings cannot afford them, leaving pensioners, families, people with disabilities, and wounded veterans isolated. Disability advocates warn staircases have become an invisible barrier, trapping people inside their own homes. They are urging city officials to fund generators for residential buildings. Until then, life bends to the blackout schedule. USB lamps, power banks, and inverter batteries are now household essentials. Telegram groups help neighbors check on the elderly and share outage updates. At night, flashes of explosions mark Russia's ongoing assault on Ukraine's energy system. Too many power stations and transmission lines have been damaged to meet demand, even with electricity imported from Europe. To avoid total grid collapse, rolling blackouts keep hospitals and critical services running, while homes go dark.
After the New Year, following yet another shelling attack,
there was no light and no heat for 17.5 hours.
So, and of course we had to come up with some kind of solution. We have a UFO heater and we also have an electric blanket, but for these things we need electricity. right? There's no electricity, of course, so we are finding a way out of this situation. How? Well, just like this.
It works best in a small room. That's why we move from the large room today. First of all, here it's sunny, and today, on Saturday it was sunny. Today it's sunny, and I realized that the sun, it really heats this room, and during the day, you don't have to turn them on, only in the evening. Well, so there's some saving in that, because it's very expensive actually. But if we don't have, and we have no other way out, then we came up with this kind of device, like a fireplace.
Well, first of all, optimism is our everything. It's both me and my mom. We support each other, and my husband does too. But while he's at work, of course, it's just me and mom together, and we're just immersed in all of this, dealing with it all. It is as if, on the one hand, we are cut off from this world, but thanks to the fact that we have the internet and we communicate with people and we support each other, and generally we go through life with optimism, no matter how difficult it may be. In any situation,
due to the strain, I can't go out. My knees are aching because it's really hard for me to stand up. I nearly collapsed there on the second floor, and after that I said, no boys, you bring me water, you bring me groceries, just order everything, and when the weather is good and there's light, I'll take the elevator down.
It's actually cold, it's really cold, but we're managing. As soon as the light comes on, the light comes on.
Yes, 16 to 17 hours without electricity. But during that time, when the light finally appears, I began to switch on the washing machine, turn on the water tanks, and fill them up.
What's going on? I'm cooking food, rushing around the kitchen, and dealing with power banks. I'm running all over the kitchen, running all through the house.
I'm so tired. It's truly exhausting, to be honest. When you can't go out, can't see the sun, when there's no electricity, you can't even go downstairs or walk to the store to buy something all by yourself.
The strikes came as delegations from Ukraine, Russia, and the United States wrapped up 2 days of talks in Abu Dhabi. Russian state media says territory remains the main sticking point. Moscow continues to demand Ukraine withdraw from the Donbas region, a demand Kyiv has repeatedly rejected. Donbas, made up of Donetsk and Luhansk, is Ukraine's industrial heartland and a backbone of its eastern defenses. The region has been heavily fortified, and losing it would expose much of eastern Ukraine to further Russian advances. The talks concluded Saturday with no clear sign of progress. Russia sent a military-heavy delegation, including senior intelligence officials. Ukraine was represented by top diplomats and security leaders, while the U.S. delegation included President Donald Trump's envoy Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, and White House advisor Josh Grunbaum. The Trump administration has been pressing Kyiv toward a peace deal, even as concerns grow that any agreement could tilt in Moscow's favor. Nearly 4 years into the war, Russia occupies around 20% of Ukraine's internationally recognized territory, including most of Luhansk and parts of Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia. After the first day of talks, Ukraine's chief negotiator said discussions focused on securing a dignified and lasting peace, thanking the U.S. for mediation. President Zelensky struck a cautious tone, warning it is still too early to draw conclusions.